All right, everyone. So, as everyone probably already knows, we just had a new trailer drop for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, which, by the way, I think is kind of a stupid name, but I'm still hyped for the movie itself. Anyways, as such, it woke up all my excitement over Reylo all over again. And as I've been going on that hype train again, I was thinking about movie posters and how they may or may not be helping to sell us on that, and or a Kylo Redemption Arc. So I just have some pictures of some of the posters from the newest sequel trilogy stuff. I mean, from all the sequel trilogy movies. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about them real fast and kind of give some of my thoughts about what I think some of the symbolism, I guess, of these posters might be. So let's get started with The Force Awakens. Alright, so for this very first one, I'm not sure if it's an actual poster. I don't really remember it being used in any of the promotional material for The Force Awakens, but I liked the poster and wanted to make some points from it, so I'm using it anyways. So, the main thing that I want to look at here is that Kylo is in the center of our poster, as if he's the center of the story, i.e., like a protagonist normally would be, i.e., even from the very beginning when he was a bad guy, they were hinting at a redemption arc. So that's kind of the big thing I draw from this. I don't know if they were intending any of that, but that's kind of what I think. If you're going for any symbols, that's not a bad way to do it. Also, just one other note, Kylo and Rey are facing different directions in this, but their lightsabers are basically perpendicular. Or, sorry, their weapons, anyway, you know what I'm saying, are basically perpendicular, which, at this point they are in discord with each other, so it makes sense that they're not, like, angled the same way. Um, but yeah, it kind of hints for the one, not so much for the Reylo, but that's his first one. All right, for the second one, I do remember this one being used as promotional material, and I'm pretty positive this is even the one that became like the DVD cover, so definitely like this is a one that we're putting on as material that represents the film or whatever. Anyways, compared to the previous one, we're looking at this, and Kylo and Rey are now facing the same direction, and their weapons even overlap and are parallel essentially from that, but overlapping, which I feel like could be a hint at Reylo even from the start, that they're looking the same way, as in eventually their causes will be the same, their weapons are aligned, as eventually they'll be fighting the same cause. It's probably reading too much into it, but that's kind of how I see that. Also, even though Kylo is not the center of the poster in this one, he's still the largest person in the poster, which essentially seems like he's a main character, a protagonist, is going to have a redemption arc eventually because he's technically the villain in this film. So, all that. Yeah, I think that it's also interesting to note that all the other good guys besides Rey are facing a different direction from Kylo, as if she's perhaps the only one who will understand him and be able to help him be redeemed and whatnot. But again, maybe just reading too much into it. Alright, so now let's jump to The Last Jedi. So, this one, I'm pretty confident, was a real poster. But it does have some aspects that seem like it could be more fan art, so I'm not positive. I do like the overall design though, so I still wanted to discuss it. So, at first glance, we see Rey and Kylo, and they seem to be facing different directions, but Kylo actually is looking over his shoulder to see what Rey sees. And that, to me, very strongly hints Reylo, and this is where we get our first, film sequences of Reylo, so that makes sense too. And I also really like that their weapons don't overlap this time, but in this particular poster, they are following in line together. Once again, that kind of positioning of them being aligned with each other, fighting for the same cause, all of that fun stuff. So, yeah, and if he's in line in any form with a current protagonist, again, that kind of hints at a redemption arc for Kylo, that he's gonna, eventually truly be aligned with them and not just be the enemy character that he has been. So there's that. Alright, for this next poster, I definitely remember seeing this one the most of any of them. I'm pretty sure it's also the cover that ended up on my DVD/Blu-ray. So yeah, this one's definitely a promotional material one. In this one, the positioning for Rey and Kylo is not quite as evocative of the things that I've been talking about, but it still mirrors that back-to-back aspect, and seems like he's turning around to face her direction, turning around to her viewpoint, all of that. The weapons are also parallel now. Again, like they're fighting in tandem. For example, like they do in the throne room, like he's coming to see her side, and all of that fun stuff. So there's that. Just some brief thoughts on that one. It's a pretty popular poster because it's on everything, so I couldn't not talk about it, but I don't have super much to say about it either. Alright, so this one I also definitely saw as some sort of promotional material. I don't know if it counts as like a finalized poster or not, but I did definitely see it. So things I like about this one is that it mirrors the covers that I've seen for A New Hope, the very original ones where you've got Luke standing in the center doing exactly what Rey's doing. He's got like Leia clutching his leg or whatever. So kind of the sillier New Hope poster, but it does mirror that. So it kind of mirrors Rey going through some of the things that Luke did, coming into her own power and all that kind of stuff. Also, as we look at this, if you see on her lightsaber, it does seem blue and red because of that flare near the handle, which reminds me of the crossguard on Kylo's lightsaber, which to me, again, evokes a sense of their weapons overlapping, them coming together to fight for the same cause. Again, big Reylo hints. Maybe it's not meant that way, probably isn't meant that way, let's face it, but there's that thought. Also, it does kind of represent, again, how their goals being the same, kind of hints at Kylo turning, getting redemption arc, joining the good side, and the good fight, if you will. So, there's that poster. Okay, so here's this next one. This, I think, is technically from the international posters, but just because they're international doesn't mean that they don't count. And they probably weren't displayed like this either. They were probably just separate posters, kind of like that last one that was just Rey. You probably saw just the Rey one or just the Kylo one. But putting them together helps display my points more. So they are together. I think that it's interesting that on Rey's poster, everything's a bit lighter. Kylo's poster, everything is a bit darker, specifically with Luke, too, because Luke is more of a mentor to Rey, but he turned against Kylo because he thought Kylo was evil. So you've got that going on in it. I also think that it looks like their weapons are intersecting based on how they've done this. Again, all the same points I've been making, that they're fighting the same fight, that we've got Reylo going on, all that. I mean, it's a different way of expressing it because of how these ones are framed, but you still kind of even get that crossguard look from Rey's, which mirrors Kylo's weapon and all of that too. So it kind of is like how their own stories intersect within this movie, and we get those lovely hints of Reylo that I hope come in the next one. But obviously we'll see as we get to that. Yeah, so that's all I've got for The Last Jedi. So now we'll jump on to the Rise of Skywalker posters. Alright, so I don't have as much to say about this one, but this is the first poster that I remember seeing for Rise of Skywalker, and aesthetically I really like it. My biggest note here is that even though they are fighting, you can see the blue, which is traditionally a light side color, that seems to be overwhelming the red, which is traditionally a dark side color, which seems like one of the biggest hints for a Kylo Redemption arc that you could possibly ever have. Also, as another side note that doesn't relate to the other things I've been saying about any of these posters, I really dislike the Emperor being in this. I really don't want him to turn up in person in this film, and I'm really scared of how much they're going to do with it because he's been so heavily featured in the trailers, and I don't want him there. You're ruining my Star Wars, but I'm still hyped, and I'm still going to go see it because I want to see what happens with Kylo and Rey. So what can you do? Anyways, now that I've complained about that, let's move on to the next poster. Okay, so as far as I know, this one is the most recent poster that we have for Rise of Skywalker. I I find it really interesting aesthetically, as it's basically the opposite of the Force Awakens poster that was like their big promotional one, the one that I said basically is on DVD covers and all of that. Now we have Rey facing the completely opposite direction, at least compared to all the other posters that, as far as I know, were the official promotional materials. I do also like that this one includes the battle that we talked about in the previous poster. And again, you're still seeing that blue taking over the red, hinting at perhaps a Kylo Redemption Arc. But yeah, I'm not sure what to make of it. The Kylo is facing forward compared to Rey facing to the side. And also there's a weird almost perpendicular thing going on with their weapons in this one, so it doesn't hit all the points that a lot of these posters have had for me, but there's still enough hints that you can hint at these things in various ways. You don't have to do the same symbols every single time, so hopefully that's all that is. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that one, so on to the last poster. Alright, so this is the last poster that I wanted to talk about. In this one, we have Rey and Kylo facing forward, and thus the same direction again, as in they've come in line with each other again, and we've got all those lovely Reylo hints from it. They are also the most prominently featured characters, again implying that he's a protagonist, that he's going to be a good guy. I mean, yes, we had the Emperor huge on the one poster, but we already discussed that I don't like him being included, and I kind of want to pretend he doesn't exist. So, based on what we're looking at in this poster, I'm going to say it's a completely different thing, and that they're going to be our main protagonists, and we're going to have Reylo, we're going to have a redemption arc, all that fun stuff. Also, we do have the weapons close to perpendicular again, but if you look at Kylo's grip on this weapon, which you can also see in the trailer if you've watched, it does seem like he's maybe not going to do any, like, real serious fighting in that stance. It's almost like a show-offy stance more than a I'm gonna fight you stance, or I'm really pissed off is how he kind of looks in the trailer when he's doing it, so who knows what's going on with that. But we do all still have a bit of a glow at the hilt of Rey's that's reminiscent of the crossguard, so I still think there's hints within the weapons of Reylo happening. Fingers crossed. If you can't tell, I'm really into let's get a redemption arc for Kylo, and let's have a Reylo plotline that gets resolved well, and not with Kylo just dying, hopefully. Fingers crossed again. Okay. Also, random aside, but C-3PO has a crossbow in this poster. What? But if you happen to have watched Jenny Nichols' video with like her Star Wars bingo that she does talk about C-3PO potentially dying and or sacrificing himself to be revived, and I think maybe that's part of what we're hinting at here. But yeah, it doesn't really relate to the other points I was trying to make. Just another one like with that Emperor on the one poster where I'm like, why did you include this? But I mean, it would be kind of interesting to see C-3PO fight, because he's been very passive, particularly in The Last Jedi. You see him trying to actively run away from fighting. I can't be part of a mutiny. Oh no, the door's blowing up. What do I do now? So anyways, him actually wanting to fight for something would be different for his character, at least. But yeah, that's basically all the analysis I have of these sequel trilogy posters. Basically, if you've been listening to this, you probably know that my conclusions are that I really want a Reylo to happen, and that hopefully, if nothing else, we explore that Force connection that they had in The Last Jedi more, and that hopefully that's why the posters even seem like they're hinting at it. As well as I'm really hoping for a Kylo Redemption Arc, especially since we do get a lot of Kylo being framed the same as Rey, which seems like that makes him more of a traditional protagonist, even though he was framed as a villain, and I mean has had some villainous acts throughout the series as well. So I just can't wait for December so that I can see how this actually goes and expands on all of it. But I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope you guys are hyped for it too, and hopefully we'll get to see some Reylo and some redemption arcs. But anyways, that's all I've got for now. This is the Umlaut Herper signing out.